Mary Edwards Walker was an unknown key part in the Civil War and played a key role in women's rights. But first, let's start with some context. The Civil War took place from 1861 to 1865 and was the result of long-standing tensions between the North and South over slavery, political views, and perspectives on westward expansion. Their clear differences in societal and economic views is what caused the war. In 1860, Republican Abraham Lincoln was elected as the 16th President of the United States. This caused anger in the South, and South Carolina seceded from the Union, leading to the Confederate States of America, consisting of Alabama, Florida, Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, Georgia, and Mississippi. They believed in the expansion and continuation of slavery, more state power instead of federal, and, in more modern terms, was more rural as opposed to urban. In one of the U.S.'s most memorable battles, the Battle of Gettysburg from July 1st to 3rd in 1863, the Confederate Army led by General Robert E. Lee was defeated, and it led to a victory for the Union. Although it did bring the country to be won again, serious tragedy was faced, including about 51,000 casualties on both sides. This is where President Lincoln gave his 272-word Gettysburg Address, in which Lincoln dedicated the place to be a cemetery in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and talked about how this war tested the nation's equality and unity. The aftermath of this war led to the creation of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, and the Reconstruction era. Now, all the men were out fighting, but women had a role in the war too. At home, women not only nourished and taught the children, but also took over the family farms and businesses. Women who did not have families worked in factories to help make weapons like guns and bullets. They also collected supplies that were crucial for the soldiers. They collected food, clothes, and made clothes. They also provided medical aid, sending bandages, braces, medicines, and some women were nurses, traveling to the front lines to help heal the wounded. They organized campaigns and had fairs and fundraisers to make money to help buy these crucial supplies. They even did household chores at the troops' camps. They made meals every day and did laundry to make sure they were able to reuse their supplies. This was a small beginning to women's rights movements, encouraging women to help in the war in any way they could. Some even disguised themselves as men and fought on the front lines. Others, like Mary Edwards Walker, were spies. They helped the wounded and gathered information from enemy troops.
Mary Edwards Walker was born on November 26, 1832, in the small town of Oswego, New York. Her parents, Alva and Vesta Walker, raised her on beliefs that foreshadowed her impressive life. Her parents valued education so much so that they built the first free school in Oswego. Though they built this school for their own children, they believed to educate children the same, regardless of gender. Walker's parents allowed her to think freely and make her own decisions throughout her childhood. This principle would be carried by Walker throughout her life. Starting from childhood, she rejected normality by wearing atypical clothing and acting untraditionally for girls of that time. Following her graduation of secondary school, Walker became a teacher, teaching in Minetto, New York. While she loved educating and helping children, she soon realized she wanted to be a doctor. Walker then attended Syracuse Medical School and was the second woman ever to graduate from her program. She earned her degree in 1855. After medical school, Walker opened a practice in Rome, New York. Unfortunately, this practice was a failure. The practice failed because the people of Rome, New York, did not trust or accept a female doctor, even though she was beyond qualified. Later in 1860, she attended Bowen Collegiate Institute, but very briefly. She was expelled from the school because she tried to join the male-only team, yet again pushing back against stereotypes for women. The failure she had felt in her adult life only motivated her further to partake in medicine in the future, especially during the Civil War.
Early in the Civil War, Mary Edwards Walker volunteered to serve as a nurse for the Union Army, as women were not allowed to enlist as doctors at this time. Despite having earned a medical degree from Syracuse Medical College in 1855, her qualifications were not initially recognized by the military due to her gender. However, Walker was determined to break down the barriers facing women in medicine. She took on nursing duties in field hospitals and battlefront camps, tending to the wounded under extremely difficult and dangerous conditions. Throughout her service, Walker became a passionate advocate for women's rights, especially in the medical field. She consistently pushed for women to be allowed to serve as doctors and surgeons, arguing that skill, not gender, should determine one's role. Her persistence paid off. After demonstrating her knowledge, courage, and medical expertise on multiple occasions, she was eventually appointed as an assistant surgeon for the Union Army, the first and only woman to officially hold such a position during the Civil War. Walker's commitment to helping the wounded extended beyond the front lines. She frequently crossed into enemy territory, often disguised in men's clothing. She treated injured soldiers from both the Union and Confederate sides, believing that medical care should not be limited by allegiance. Her movements behind enemy lines and unconventional behavior led to widespread suspicion that she was not only a surgeon but also acting as a Union spy. In 1864, Walker was captured by Confederate forces in Georgia while assisting civilians and injured soldiers near the front lines. She was charged as a spy and imprisoned in Richmond, Virginia, where she endured about 4 months of captivity in harsh and unsanitary conditions. Eventually, she was released in a prisoner exchange, traded for another Confederate surgeon.
Mary Edwards Walker is an American hero because of her dedication in the Civil War and her push to resist societal expectations and gender stereotypes. Mary Edwards Walker became the first female surgeon in the United States Army during the Civil War. At the time, women were only allowed to work in nursing positions, but she refused and performed surgeries, worked near the front lines, and treated wounded soldiers under brutal conditions. Walker was captured by Confederate forces and accused of being a spy. When she was released after her capture of 4 months in brutal conditions, she continued to serve in the United States military. She continued to fight in the military, not because of the glory and not because of the pay, but because of her dedication to equality and justice. Mary Edwards Walker was the first and only woman to receive the Medal of Honor for her bravery and dedication in the Civil War in 1865, though in 1916 her medal was revoked because the government reviewed her as ineligible since she didn't actually fight on the battlefield. She continued to wear it anyway up until her death in 1919, leading to it being legally restored by President Jimmy Carter in 1977. Mary Edwards Walker challenged every societal expectation in her path. She broke every rule that stood in her way from doing what she was passionate about. Her goal was to help others in every way she could and showed women that anything was possible even with gender stereotypes as an obstacle. Mary Edwards Walker not only made history, but she also changed it. Her determination and her dedication is what makes her an American hero.